Hi, I am John Atack,
I am Sam Atack.
and he's got a question.
I've forgotten what it was. No. What is religion?
What is religion?
Yeah.
Religion is a word that comes from the Latin, and it means to bind together. We have the word ligament from the same source, ligare. Not an expert on language, by the way, just happen to know that.
Cool.
So it is something that binds people together into a group. That's what religion is.
So it's similar to the word yoga, then?
Yeah, the yoga from yoke, not egg yolk, but the yoke that you put over cattle, to yoke you to God, yoga. That's what it means.
Is there such a thing as a bad religion?
I think there probably is. And let's think of some examples. Let's say that you were, I don't know, in Mexico in the 15th century and Aztec, and you were captured in battle and you had your heart torn out with an obsidian blade. Didn't have metals.
I don't think I'd like that very much.
Yeah, but that's religion. You know, having, Huitzilopochtli or whichever of the deities is being placated. Yes. And the sun won't rise tomorrow if you don't do it. So it's not worth taking the risk, is it? You pluck out another heart. Or the Thuggees, a sect in India that was put down by the British Raj because their sacrament was murder. They would kill people to... And if you look at what I at school was taught were mythologies, the Greeks, the Romans, the Vikings particularly, these are stories about religion and the beliefs of these people. Now, one characteristic aspect of traditional religions is sacrifice. And there's often human sacrifice involved. So if you go to New Guinea or Borneo, they were still up to this. So religion is not necessarily a good thing. I would say that we default, as so often we do, to Eric Fromm, who said that things can be life-affirming or life-denying. And if a religion is life-denying, i.e. you have to pull people's hearts out, murder people, and be horrible and nasty to people, then it's a bad religion. And if a religion is life-affirming in that it helps people, heals the sick and looks after the poor and all of that sort of stuff, then it's a good religion. And that also takes us into the area of purr words and snarl words. And I was sat with a friend of mine, dear friend Larry, who is the angriest man I've ever known. And we were sat in a diner in Los Angeles, and he was in his 70s at the time, and I was in my 30s, I think. I was that young once. And the diner was empty, and he said that it upset him that whenever he tried to talk about Scientology to his family or friends, that they would say, oh, yes, but it's a religion. And so I said, well, yes, so is Michael Aquino's Temple of Set. I think the Church of Satan hadn't actually been founded at that time. But they're religions.
Yeah, well, it's like the concept of new religious movement. You throw in the word religion and suddenly it's a good thing.
It sanitizes everything. And the point is that, most of the religions of the world derive from sacrificial cults. They derive from, and they're manipulated to become, a way of having power over others. Even a religion like Christianity, which is, where Jesus said, if you want to follow me, you have to give everything you have to the poor. Well, I don't see much of that. I see prosperity Christians instead. It's which Muslims are a bit more straightforward about that. They do believe that God is rewarding you.
So the poor deserve what they get.
Well, Muslim rule is that you must give to the poor, and that you must thank them for taking your gift because they are giving you the gift by accepting it. So it's very much how we apply these ideas. And good-hearted people will do good-hearted things, and nasty, evil-hearted people will set up inquisitions to burn witches crusades. I mean, Innocent III, Pope Innocent III, who launched the crusade against the Albigensians or Cathars around about 1200, who were annihilated because their belief in Christ was different. He was the founder of the Inquisition, which initially was just a court, but later became a Monty Python joke. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. The idea of burning heretics, these, that's religion, and that's fine. If you want to believe in that religion is a good thing, then go with it.
So, what rules do you think a religion would have to follow to be considered pro-life?
Well, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which Eleanor Roosevelt had so much to do with, and which was adopted by the United Nations, pretty much that the Bill of Rights of the United States, though it didn't recognise all men are created equal except for the black men and the Native Americans and women. But if the sentiments expressed there are generally life-affirming. There should be a respect for justice. There should be a respect for individuality, creativity. I believe the fundamental tenet should be enough for everyone. That's my slogan in life, for everyone enough. That we should look towards a society that cares for the whole human species, whole human race, and has a kindly disposition towards the other species, which is a way more complicated argument. I'm not a vegan. Could have had religion, but my little girl wouldn't let me pray, in the words of the old blues song. Religion also splits down into devotional religion, and most religion, Christianity is largely a devotional religion where you worship a deity. The Krishna consciousness movement practices bhakti yoga. There are 8 ways of yoking yourself to God, finding union with God, and bhakti yoga is the devotional form. The bizarre Professor Daisetsu Suzuki, who was fundamentally responsible for selling Zen Buddhism into the Western world in the 1940s, was himself, and his introduction to Zen Buddhism, which is a great big book, is quite fascinating. But he wasn't himself a Zen Buddhist. He was an Amida Buddhist. And he was also a proponent of soldier Zen, which was a way of getting soldiers to do brutal things to people. But then, but he was an Amida Buddhist, which is to say somebody who, by making devotion to this Amida Buddha, whoever he is, will gain paradise. So those are devotional religions.
Yeah, what's the other type?
You then have the magical forms, and which are called the sinister or left-hand path, whereby you try and accumulate personal power for yourself. Aleister Crowley is the most famous of these people. Ron Hubbard was a devotee of his work, and I use the word devotee advisedly. The third form is the mystical form, which has been, sadly, was persecuted in Christianity frequently. So Meister Eckhart, who said, the eyes through which I see God are the eyes through which God sees me, which is quite a statement when you think about it. Maybe not. But he actually died on his way to trial for heresy. Among, you have Molinos or a variety of Christian mystics. The Buddha is advocating mysticism. Lao Tzu, Jiangsu, they're advocating mysticism, which is the search of the self. And by going through certain practices, understanding the world better. The problem is that there are so many practices, meditational practices, for example, which will actually just put you into altered states. And so you go, oh, wow, I'm in a bliss state.
I must
this much exists. So those are the divisions. For me, the foundation is good works, that if you don't care about other people, then your religion is no good. And often all too often religion has been a way of dominating people, which is why I've suggested that the God that many people have worshipped is actually the devil. That they've worshipped evil, they've worshipped power, they've been greedy, and they've exalted themselves narcissistically, believing that.
I mean, when you think of prosperity, Christianity, it makes more sense to think of it that way.
Yeah, I just don't see that. But we could then, and we probably will, get into a discussion of the 19th century movements, people like Ralph Waldo Trine, Mary Baker G. Eddy, who put things off onto this different, entirely selfish path where there's law of attraction, Scientology, this thought that you control everything that happens to you, which I'm afraid scientifically is a ridiculous idea because the universe is kind of complicated. And it's not your will that is directing what will happen. And it's not your morality that's directing what will happen, the karmic idea. But the theme is really to say that goodness is a good thing. And the word good and the word God come from the same source. They are what's called cognate. In the same way that the word holy, the word healthy, the word hail, and the word healthy, holy, and whole and holy all come from the same place, and we get confused about what they might mean. I did dig out something because I'm not an atheist, I'm not a theist, I'm an agnostic, and this is a quotation because he is so often misquoted from Charles Darwin. It seems to me absurd to doubt that a man can be an ardent theist, a believer in God, and an evolutionist. Whether a man deserves to be called a theist depends upon the definition of the term, which is too large a subject for a note such as this. In my most extreme fluctuations, I have never been an atheist in the sense of denying the existence of a God. So anybody that tells you that Darwin was an atheist is wrong. I think that generally, and more as I grow older, but not always, that an agnostic would be the more correct description of my state of mind. I'm taking that from Michael Shermer's very fascinating Why People Believe Weird Things. Michael Shermer's a psychologist, a historian of science, and the founder of the Skeptic Society and Skeptic magazine. And he quotes also Stephen Jay Gould. Gould is, in his time, I think, the best-selling popular author of science books. I certainly, 30 years, have been reading things. He was a professor, I think, in 3 subjects at Harvard. And he said, unless at least half my colleagues are dunces, there can be, on the most raw and empirical grounds, no conflict between science and religion. And he also cites Martin Gardner and calls him the skeptic skeptic. Gardner really was the skeptic skeptic. But he called himself a fideist, a philosophical theist, who says, credo consolans, I believe because it is consoling. Given a metaphysical problem impossible to resolve through science or reason, like the existence of God, says Gardner, it is acceptable to make a leap of faith. So what is or isn't religion? Is religion a good thing? Not necessarily. A great deal of evil has been committed in the name of religion, and so we should suspect that. We shouldn't just go, oh, it must be fine because it's a religion. Now, my friend Larry, I said these things to him and he became furious with me, and he spent 20 minutes, and I'm not kidding, 20 minutes shouting at me in a diner, which gradually filled up all around us. How dare I say these stupid things? But I'm saying the same thing. If the Temple of Set or the Thuggees or the Mesoamerican death cults are religions, the Vikings had their religion, then religion is not necessarily a safe idea. Goodness is a safe idea. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a good idea. I'm John Atek.
I'm Sammy Duke.
And we've had a lot of fun doing this. Thank you very much for your time. See you again soon.